Tell me something about Ashi Adani that we don't see on camera.
My DMs are like, wow, Didi, you look great, your hair's flying.
So what is the stability as a income for a influencer?
There's great money in the industry.
Or what is the biggest red flag when a brand slides into your DM?
I can see you're talking about me. No matter how sneaky you think you are, she left the country because she had to pay us.
How have you reacted when somebody else has copied your content?
I make more money than all of y'all combined. Your mom's nodding along with me. What is it with these children?
Hi everyone, I'm Heenal. Welcome to the Founders Podcast. And today with me, I have Ashi Adani. Let's get started. Did I do that right?
Well done, well done.
I think that was the perfect intro for you.
Yeah.
You've been in this industry for how long now?
10 and a half, 11 years almost now.
Yeah, I've seen you from YouTube. I still remember when you used to make YouTube videos, and for us at that time, when there was no creators, there were no influencers. So I want to break that down, and let's be honest, this podcast is going to get extremely real in what I'm going to say, because I'm going to dumb it down as much as I can to really understand what is it behind this whole face that comes on the gram or on YouTube for people. So be ready for some dumb answers. I mean, dumb questions, I'm sorry. And a lot of gossip that I'm going to get out of you about the industry. So going on to the first thing, 10 and a half years. You started with YouTube.
No,
Tell me
I
your joke.
started writing blogs in college. I don't know if you would have come across that.
Yeah.
But I started writing blogs first from fashion, like Colaba Causeway kind of clothes I used to buy. I used to write about it.
Oh, wow.
And then everyone was like, okay, now nobody's reading, move on to Instagram. So I'm like, okay, now I'll take photos. Then it was like, oh, nobody's seeing photos anymore. Make carousels, make videos. Then they are like, oh, no, long form is what's going. So I'm like, okay, now I'm starting YouTube. So YouTube came much later into my journey, actually. And after that, it was like, no, now you have to make short form content. Reels is coming. So Reels and YouTube Shorts. And I think here we are. So I feel like I am one person who's seen every phase of social media and content creation. Because I have had to like ride each wave and try to still come out of it alive.
You started in the blog era, so you've literally seen how content has grown in this space. Break that down for me. How is it figuring it out, and why? What drew you to it? Let's start there.
I would say I get bored very easily. Okay, I can't do the same thing over and over again. While a lot of people and a lot of peers who I started with content creation, who were also bloggers or Instagrammers at the max, they couldn't keep up with the change. I was like, I love it. Give me more. So even if 50 more of these came, I'd be totally cool with it, because I get bored very easily. So I feel like a curious mindset kind of a thing really helps with it. And you also evolve, right, as a person. So I feel like the person who was writing those blogs to the person who is now completely different. So as you grow, it's nice to have other things. It's definitely difficult because you've just gotten used to something and now it's like, now do this. So it is irritating a bit, but I feel like it can be done if you are like excited about what you do.
Right. Tell me, what is your biggest, or what is the biggest red flag when a brand slides into your DM?
Biggest red flag would be that we have a bulk deal for you, so give me your best cost. I was like, no, you don't. Delete. No, you don't.
Why not? Why not?
Because they're lying. They're like, okay, give me your best cost and then I'll give you 6 deals. I was like, no, you give me 6 deals, I'll give you my best cost right now. And that's not going to happen. It's just a negotiation technique, which I'm like not falling for.
Nice. But okay, so tell me something. What did you do with your first paycheck when you got it?
Invested it.
Okay, what would you like to do with your first paycheck? If you
blow it up, yeah. Dad put it in FD.
That's a great thing.
It's not even like a great investment. It's just an FD.
Yeah, I think dads. I remember I got my first salary and it's invested. I was like, what do I spend? He's like, I'll give you money.
Yeah, invest that. Oh my God. Even my dad's like, all your money is getting investment. You invested. You want to do time pass, then you take money from me. It's like, I'm independent. Aren't you seeing that? No, you're not.
No, but it's nice to still be humbled down to realizing that at the end of the day, Yeah. How do you maintain it? You have a public face. You're out there. Of course, I mean, not as like a celebrity being papped 24/7, but still, I mean, you are a public face. So how do you deal with that?
My family is very brutal to me. My friends are very brutal to me. They are not very nice people. So they keep me grounded. However, I am like, however humbled I am is because of them. Because I get this, like, whenever I meet people also, they are like, you're like really like modest the way you are. And I was like, yes, come home. I'll show you how I'm being treated.
So there they don't see you like an influencer.
Yeah, they don't treat me, they treat me worse than like any help. It's funny, but it's required, I think.
I think shout out to your biggest cheerleaders to be like those people.
I
sure
something else also, like if I post like a makeup look or something and I'm like, wow, like, and my DMs are like, wow, Didi, you look great, your hair's flying. And my friend will be like, why is that cracked? Why are you wearing that colored lens? What is wrong with you? It's like, okay, fine. I guess I'm not wearing blue lenses anymore. So I think it's required to have.
Did you do the Ashoka trend?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. It's like you would be trolled around all of these.
I did.
Like, have you seen this new trend, which was like people are putting a rope on their face?
I actually loved that. Yeah, I actually thought it was
makeup.
beautiful
Yeah.
to look at. But no, that's not me anymore. I get bullied too much.
By friends and family or
Friends and family only. Online, no. Online.
What's worse?
Family and friends, you're supposed to love me. They are not supposed to love me. You're supposed to love me. They don't.
Yeah. But I guess that's what brings this humble side of you. Nice. Okay. So you've been on Instagram for so long. So I'm gonna like really get to know your opinions on things. What's this one trend that you really want to see banned? Because it's just overdone now.
Trending songs. Because, you know, it starts with like this beautiful song and then you're hearing it every 2 seconds. I'm like, I'm going to burn this song.
It's at
The next person who plays it, I'm going to burn the person also. So I feel like I wish people would find like newer music and like better music. I'm getting so sick and tired of trending music. It's too much.
Yeah, I hate it because so many of the good songs, you hear the chorus and then it cuts into another song.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then that plays at the club also.
I was just like, stop it. Like, just
Yeah.
please stop it. Stop ruining two good things together.
Fair enough. Tell me something. What is the most ridiculous thing you've been asked to promote?
It was a period product that it was not a menstrual cup. It was nothing normal. It was just weird. And it was like, oh, you just have to insert it and you won't get your period. And I was like, who made this? Who allowed this? Is this FDA approved? What is happening? And I read the DM and I had not even responded because I was like, I'm not able to understand what you're trying to do over here.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I can't do that. It scarred me.
Please stop your periods.
Yeah. And I'm like there are things like that, but like not stop your periods, but like go to a doctor. If you have a problem, what is all this?
So have people asked you for opinions about your skin and everything where you've been like, okay, maybe go to a dermat now?
So like if there are like tiny bumps or something that I feel like, this can be treated topically with like a normal product that I'm recommending for sure. But if someone has like hormonal acne, cystic acne, they've been dealing with it for years. I'm like, bro, it's not a skincare problem. It's an internal problem. It has to be resolved. And I'm like, don't even go to a gynac. Don't even go to a dermat. Go to your gynac because that is where all the problems start, and it's very important. And I don't know what it is about kids. They don't want to go to doctors anymore. Dude, yeah. Your mom's nodding along with me. What is it with these children? Nobody's going to doctors these days, bro. I have a doctor for everything.
Yeah.
It's required. What?
We are born in that era where, like, even I have a doctor for everything. But so they Google the doctor.
Yeah, and I'm like, and even I like chat GPT or whatever, and I go to my gynac and she'll hit me, bro. Like, and I had a report that I got done, okay, and that was like either you have cancer or you have diabetes. That was the synopsis from Google.
Oh,
and
from Google?
From Google.
Okay.
And I was crying because I'm like, I have cancer or diabetes, I don't know. And I went to my doctor, she's like, are you insane? Since when did you start doing this? Because I've been going to her since a very young age and she knows how like particular I am. She's like, when did you start being crazy? I was like, I don't know. I haven't again. Maybe not again. So yeah, I feel like I've forgotten the point of our conversation, but like go to doctors, yeah.
Yeah. Like influencers just here to recommend products, they're not here to.
Exactly. And if there are serious problems, you need medical professionals. We are not medical professionals. You can't come to us for that advice only.
Right. Owing to this, your fans, people who love Ashi and Ani, have you had some scary encounters or anything weird?
People are very sweet. People are really, really sweet. It's not scary, but it's funny because like when you go somewhere, I can see you're talking about me. No matter how sneaky you think you are, I know you're talking about. It's very evident. So that's really funny. That happens a lot. Right now we are going to Chennai for a trip, and I was at a dinner place and I saw like there was this group of girls. They all are looking at me. They're giggling amongst themselves. Then they are passing a phone around. I'm like, I know what you're doing. But every time I look at them, they're like, so it's just like, so it's funny, it's cute. And like once I was crossing the road and there were the 3 girls crossing and they recognized me. Like they were like, but then they were crossing, so they didn't even do anything. So I have perennially just learned to keep this face. So I'm not like, oh, it shouldn't be like, oh, I smiled at Ashi and she didn't look, because sometimes you don't realize now people are looking at you. So I'm mostly like, this is my face now. So people are like, okay, she's not bitchy.
It's been a change for you now to keep up.
Yeah. I have a very resting bitch face, I've been told. So now I just sit like this in the house also. It's very
So that in case someone you're at least smiling.
Yeah.
Nice. So talking a little bit about, say, I'm an influencer in the making right now, okay? I am getting brand deals once a month, maybe not the next month. So what is the stability as a income for a influencer?
There isn't any in the beginning. I feel like in the first year of my career, I made 60 grand total, like in the full first year. And that was paying less than my internship that I was doing at the time. It's horrible. So it is a freelance job at the end of the day. While you are building a business, the goal is to build a nice, successful, sustainable business. You're starting off as a freelancer. So as any freelancer, there are going to be good months and there are going to be bad months, and there are some months you'll make less money, some months you'll make more money. I feel like you need to create that kind of a relationship, and you need to brand yourself in a way that brands will want to work with you. There are lots of aches that brands also have where they are like, we would not work with someone who talks like this. We would not work with someone who like works like this, or posts in these kind of outfits. They are very, very particular, most brands. So I feel like having little clarity on who you are, staying true to that, and then like kind of seeing where the brand fits is very, very important. But that being said, unless you're actually building that trust, it's going to be a while before it's a stable, oh, every month I'm going to minimum make this much. It's not possible.
Yeah.
We also can't guarantee that at this stage. Like I have a target and I've tried to achieve it, but we don't know whether or not I'll make it.
Yeah. It's still like more of on how much influence you have, and you're kind of planning a projection with that. Interesting. Many a times when you're speaking to influencers, a person charges you like an absurd amount. It is like, oh my God, why should I be paying this person? So tell me something and break this down. I mean, when you started versus when you reached a specific milestone in your journey, how did you come up with what is your charge? How much you're going to pay me to put a piece of content for my set of followers?
So I feel like when I started, there were no guidelines. There are still no guidelines. This is a very uncharted space altogether. So I think communicating is very, very important. Communicating with your friends. So I had friends who are at the same level of followers. And I'm like, okay, how much are you charging? And she's like, okay, I charge like 5,000 for a video. I'm like, okay, maybe next time I'll try to charge 5,000. Then she'd be like, hey, I charge 8,000, it works. So I was like, okay, now I'll charge 8,000, see if it works. So it had to be like trial and error. A trick that I came up with was asking them their budget. Because usually what happens is you undervalue yourself. Okay. I was like, koi nahi dega itne ka, like, who will give? So I started asking brands what their budget was. And it was 80% of the time more than what I would have quoted. So now I'm just like, oh, okay, fine, that's okay. And in my head, I'm like, double, like, come on. So it's very important to be a little smart also. Make sure people aren't taking you for a ride, because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like because it's a very unclear space, you have to talk to people around you and try trial and error. Some deals you'll lose. It's not like you'll get each and every thing, but it'll make you more clear, at least, in what you're doing.
Nice. That's a very interesting way to, like your hack. I like the way you can approach it, where you're not really losing the deal, but at the same time, you're putting a good price to what your worth is.
So next time I know I can charge this much because someone already gave me for it, right?
Yeah. Fair enough. Moving on to a little bit about what you said, and let's talk about influencers and the ones who've made it big now. I'm seeing them being given opportunities which were only probably given to the celebs or the who's and who. Especially about Cannes Film Festival that went out, right? It really rolled this entire thing of, why is Sakshi there? Like, why is Parul Gulati there?
Yeah.
So I'm asking you this as an influencer, why were they invited? And what is your take towards influencers being invited for such events?
I feel like it's the need of the hour. I feel like, yes, Alia Bhatt is going to be there and all eyes are going to be on Alia Bhatt. But you cannot, just because Alia Bhatt is there, you cannot diminish the fact that Sakshi also has her reach. Parul also has her reach. And if she has been invited, you and I are nobody to comment on it. We can bitch about the outfits, sure. But we're nobody to comment on whether or not they deserve to be there. Because when we're talking about movies as well, like Carrie Minati got a tiny role in a movie, Kusha Kapila is in a movie for like a brief second. But how much of their faces have they used to promote that movie all the time? And then when you see the movie, they're like, itna hi tha, itna hi tha. But they keep using those faces because people are coming for those faces. These influencers have that influence. And you might hate it because they're nobodies. And I feel like a lot of the hate comes from because they don't want nepotism, but they are like, but then who are you? Kind of thing, right? And I'm just like,
that's exactly what I felt, that influencers influence a certain segment. Who's now backlashing at the festival for inviting them.
Exactly.
So when that happened, I had the same dilemma as you. I said, okay, now this is confusing. Because I get why they're in movie shows. I mean, I'm seeing so many, like even comedians started appearing in movie shows and in TV shows like all the time. I don't think that was ever, like that's probably the next stage. Depends on what content you're
creating. You're using someone's face for eyeballs. You are giving those eyeballs. Then you can't be like, but why is this person also at a prestigious festival? Because they are bringing the eyeballs. That's the exact same reason. So we'll just stick to bitching about the outfits and nothing else.
I think that's Sufi's thing that he has. And I love his content for that because I somehow always relate to the suggestions that he gives. But I mean, he's also an influencer, right?
Exactly.
Everyone's
an influencer.
So obviously till now we've spoken about how you've grown. What's the good side of being an influencer? Tell me a little about some experiences about the struggle or the bad side, which people don't realize.
Something that you don't realize, it's a very lonely job. There is 6 days a week, I have nobody to talk to all day because my entire team works remotely. Because if I were to bring them over, I would have to pay for a desktop. I would have to pay for 2 desktops and stuff like that, which is an investment I'm not willing to make at this moment. So everyone's working remotely and it works just fine for me. Like I have no issues with my team, touch wood, they're amazing. So it's a very lonely job. It's very hard to keep patting your own back and like being like, you get through each day where it's like each video, you're just there in front of the camera, and sometimes it can be a daunting feeling where it's like, okay, this is like, I need human interaction. No, like I need to go and talk to people.
Being in front of the camera drains you also. Nobody speaks about it, but it really drains you.
You should say, like my videographer who works with me very often, he has this, he's like, 1 second to ruk ja. So it's like, if my take is still here, I'll be like, immediately melt. And he's just like, 1 second cut to de de. Like then you can melt into whatever you want. So I feel like it is draining, which is why it becomes very tiring. But I think it's a very lonely job. So you have to be okay with being by yourself a lot. I also feel like it's a very difficult job to explain because people still be like, oh, she's a YouTuber. And I'm like, what is this?
They think
what is this? I make more money than all of y'all combined. What do you mean? What is this? So it's just like, I feel like having even after proving to yourself that you're good enough, you still have to walk into rooms defending what you do, which nobody should have to do ever for their jobs, right? Like, I shouldn't have to be like, bank statement dikhao kya? Like, I shouldn't have to do that to people. So, I feel like, again, there's a lot of misinformation and like people look down upon the job a lot, which has changed a little bit since I started, but I don't think we're there yet. And it's a headache. Chasing people for your payments is like the worst.
I feel
It's
you.
a nightmare.
I feel you so
I have
much.
cried and cried and cried because like I've had people being rude to me on the phone, being like, we are not running away with your money. I was like, it's been 4 months. You kind of are now. And they're rude people, bro. Like, there are a lot. I don't have like that strong thing where I'll fight back on call. Like if you scream at me, I'll cry. So I have cried on calls being like, bro, it's my money and I'm gonna have to fight for it so much. And payments are not on time. I have paid my videographer, I paid my entire team, and I'm getting paid 4 months later. It's very unstable.
Yeah, very, very unstable. But tell me an experience you had where, have you had an experience where you've not been paid for a deal?
Of course, I had one experience where this woman, the brand basically hired a lot of influencers, 5-6 of us. All of us put out our content. She shut the website and she's run off. She left the country because she had to pay us. She's left the country and we were just like, what do we do here? I have a...
What she do with the content? She just took it and...
No, we posted it.
Oh.
So she was not the brand owner. She was the marketing person. So she took the money and she has run away now. And brand is like, we to paid na, whoever we had to pay, why will we pay you? So I basically personally drafted up like I'm gonna sue you kind of a thing and sent it to the brand. And then somehow that girl's phone started and like everyone got paid then eventually. But this was a traumatizing 8 months. And it's a lot. Back then when like that little amount also makes a big difference. So I'm just like, I used to have nightmares about that woman coming back and all. It's like, I just need my money. And it happens at every stage, whether or not you have a team. Some people just want to get out of paying or pay very late or pay in installments. I don't know what it is, but it is traumatizing.
Yes. It's still your time that you put in.
Yeah. So, and they're so rude. They're so rude because it's on call and all. They just like, they'll scream at you, yell at you, insult you. And you will not be able to say anything because you still want your money, right? You're not going to be able to do anything. So I feel like it's there. It's part of the job. You can't do anything about it. Everyone's not nice.
No, I think when I said I feel you because in working in a service industry also and having a business of your own, there reached a point where I went to my dad and I said, my job is just begging for money, making invoices, begging for money, making invoices. Matlab, what is this role that you've hired me for? And he said, you want to serve people, deal with it.
Exactly.
And I've also seen a lot of such deals with, I think it was Teer, I hope I pronounced it right. They had sent like a foundation kit which didn't have the Indian skin tone and it was called out, and then they actually went ahead and recreated that. So have you also seen a lot of brands actually make some conscious changes basis on suggestions that you must have said and they've come back to you?
So basically there's this brand called Tipsy Beauty. They do some really cool products and they had this contour that they had launched and I found it quite dark. Like I was like, okay, you're trying to be inclusive but you're cutting out a whole segment of people who are fair to medium. It's looking like brown on me.
Okay.
It's too dark. And as it was I don't know, like it was written in the stars, I became the face of the launch of their lighter contour and like another 2 shades that they were launching which are more inclusive. And they're like, we're calling this our inclusive range, you are the face of it, and it's happening. So I feel like that was really like surreal. It was on my vision board for so long and I did not even see it coming. It happened so quickly also. I still not processed it.
I think you did a limited edition Tipsy Beauty in
that entire. Yeah, it's not limited edition. We want that range to stay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I mean that's true influence. That's your actual work that's being put out.
But it's also the brand being nice enough to accept criticism and work on it.
Yeah, it depends. You've had brands who don't.
Of course. So maybe, they'll be like, nahi, humko itna hi karna hai, sir.
Fair enough. Can I ask you something honestly? Is it just the brand deals that helped you grow? What else worked for you to grow?
Grow in what sense? Monetarily?
Monetarily also, but monetarily, of course, I understand brand deals play a role. But I mean, in terms of like your entire image on social media, not only followers, I mean, even the engagement, the consistency of people, coming to your content.
I don't think brands had anything to do with it. I feel like brands, it's like nice to work with like a big brand. It builds a little bit of credibility, but I feel like they don't have anything else to do with my engagement or my consistency or anything of that sort. That is all me, and that is only basis my organic content.
So it's just what your organic content drew people to kind of come back.
Yeah.
Now, how have you reacted when somebody else has copied your content?
Very poor. Very poorly. I used to really lose my shit. In COVID, I used to do these transition makeup videos, okay? And they were like very well thought out, all my ideas. And like, I used to put in a lot of effort. And then I see it has become a whole ass trend. And I wasn't even involved in it. And I was like, bataya bhi nahi tum log nahi kar rahe ho. And so many people were posting it. And then I started calling people out. But then I'm like, you know what? This is not the way, because people don't give credit very easily.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was, if you recreate my video and you tag me, every Saturday I'll give you a shout out. So then people started tagging me in my own like creations, and then every Saturday we used to have this shout out thing, and everyone who had actually given me credit would get a shout out on my profile.
Wow.
And so that was a really smart thing. I was like, wow. And I think after that I kind of grew out of it, honestly. Earlier it was, I don't know if it because I was younger or because I was newer, or I don't know what it was. It was more, there was this fight instinct. Now I'm just like, enjoy, bro. Like, thanks. Great compliment.
That also comes because of experience.
Exactly. So I feel like now I see people creating it, I'm like, it's fine. I'll bitch to my friends and we have know what this person did. Okay.
Fair enough. What is that one metric that you still check every day?
Shares and saves. I find that very, very useful to tell me where I'm headed in piece of content. Like, so basically likes, views don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter anymore. Either you have to be so important, like so informative, that people will save it and want to refer back to it, or be so funny and so like relatable that they've shared it with their friends.
Yeah.
I think those two things are very, very important, and I check that for every video.
What's that one influencer ick that you just cannot stand?
I don't know how to explain it better, but influencers putting other influencers down. For example, my video is, hey, this is a concealer you should be using. All influencers are lying to you and telling you should be using concealer. In fact, you should only be using these two products. Why you put other people down? Why you said other people are lying? It gets eyeballs. I get it. It gets the thing. But why you had to put other people down? Don't do that shit. I hate that. I hate that like a lot.
That happens a lot because it's a community, but it's still a competition. So you still see that.
Yeah, but why would you do? Stand on your own. Na? Stand on your own. Why would
In the name of a hook, you're putting somebody else down.
It's not required.
And hooks work?
Of course. Very important. Very important. Most important part of your video is your hook.
That also creates a recall value for you if your hook stays with the
If you talk a certain way, yes. But I feel like in general, if I'm just scrolling and I don't know who you are, it is still like if your first 3 words are exciting enough, I'll probably hear you out. So hooks are very important now.
Interesting. Going a little bit into how influencers make money and how they really deal with it nowadays. I mean, we're literally the same age. So I fully feel you when you say you need that first paycheck of yours was invested. It would like, but at the end of the day, still at the back of your mind, you're like, acha, security to hai. But nowadays, being on Instagram, earning, spending is all glamorized. Like I see youngsters purchasing cars and they put a very nice video of it. And I'll be honest, it was something I saw on the gram. And I remember my sister walked into the room and she's like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? And I was like, chill.
Oh my God.
Like that happens. So there's so much of a ripple effect. But at the same time, I feel like you said, it's not a stable money making thing.
It's not.
So what's your take on how people, or how Gen Zs deal with the money?
I can't tell you how to deal with your money. I feel like the same thing though to do would be to invest all of it. TikTok got taken away in a jiffy. People didn't realize it's being taken away and it was gone overnight. So I feel like, and this job pays a lot. It will pay better than any 9 to 5 at a very senior level also. It will, like, kids are making money. You're saying that, right?
Yeah.
So, but for how long are you making money? That you don't know. Job is to there till the end of your life. Is this going to be there? We don't know that. So I feel like the same thing would be to invest it well in a way that you're still getting money when you're 40s and 50s and ugly and not making videos on Instagram. People don't want to see older people making videos. And I know for a fact that probably in the next 10 years, I might not be doing this. But I still, while I'm finding my next new thing, I still need money to get through life. And the right thing to would be to kind of save it and invest it in a very, very nice way. While, like, I feel like, okay, if you're making money, you don't need to deny yourself of things. You don't need to be like, oh, I'll not live well. Live well. You've earned it. You deserve it. But don't spend like crazy also.
Yeah. And I think what also comes out of this whole thing is, like you said, is it's not, you can't do this after you're of a certain age, or probably you're gonna, you can,
few people
but
can pull it off.
But how much? I mean, it's going to be 20 years in front of camera, then 30, then 40.
Exactly.
What really keeps your followers to you? How have you maintained your following and your recall as a brand?
I feel like trust has been a very, very, very strong part of it.
Okay.
You can't be around for 10 years and not let people get bored of you. They are going to get bored of you. So having the trust and also changing with the trends. Just because I am a beauty content creator doesn't mean I'll stick to just beauty. I will try to make trends my own and kind of try to post a video about it. But I think building a trust is very, very, very important, and consistency. If I post a YouTube video every Saturday, 6:30 p.m. every Saturday, long form goes. But the one Saturday I missed, I have gotten a bollocking in my DMs being like, there is the video. I'm sitting with my Maggie ready. What do you mean you're not posting? How's that okay? Like, people hold you accountable as well. So I feel like the more consistently you do it, you get people hooked onto it and people are looking forward to it. So
then they follow your consistency and they look
Exactly.
forward to it. Fair.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. So where does life lead you?
For now, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I'm also looking at other opportunities that I might want to work on. But right now, I'm very happy with what I'm doing. So I'm like trying to capitalize on it and maximize it as much as I can. And I'm going to remember my 20s very fondly.
Yeah. One thing for everybody who's watching, tell me something about Ashi Adani that we don't see on camera. An off-camera personality of yours.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very, very like, my friends call me a little uncool. But it's basically because I have like the worst jokes, okay? Like they're not funny, and like, but I still keep cracking them. And that's not something I do online, because online I try to be like smart and like, hey, like makeup and stuff like that. So I feel like once people get to know me, they really like enjoy spending time with me because I'm like very chill and fun. So I feel like hang out with me some other time when you'll know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think this was fun getting to know Ashi on camera as well as off camera. And thank you. You've really shared a lot about what it takes to really be here. It's not a one night
Definitely.
fame. It is not something that just works for you. It's something you have to really, really work towards. And yeah, thank you for doing this. I hope
Thank
you
you for
enjoyed.
having me, Hinal. It's taken me back and made me very nostalgic. I love the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.